I'd like to call the May meeting of the Cherokee Village City Council order. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us have a moment of silent prayer, please. Amen. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Rowland.
Here.
Christophe.
Here.
Hill. Heffley.
Here.
Ishmael.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Foreman opposed.
Thank you. Next item is approval of tonight's agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to add personnel to the agenda, please. I have several questions that don't have to be answered at this meeting, but I'd like to bring them in a public forum.
Personnel issues, Mr. Martin, have to be discussed in executive
they're
session.
not issues.
Huh?
They are questions about personnel.
Okay, well, they still have to be asked.
Not about anybody specifically, about policies and personnel. And
Okay.
I want them to be made in a public forum and then have a response by next meeting.
Well, I'll have to wait. We'll put that on the agenda. I'll have to
Thank
wait
you
to hear
very
what your question is.
Thank you very much.
That'll be item 2 of new business. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Smith to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is approved. Any public comments on agenda items? Next is approval of minutes from the April meeting.
I motion we approve. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Christophe for approval of the minutes from the April meeting to be filed for audit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Minutes should be so filed. Next item, correspondence. Clerk, we have some correspondence, I see.
We received a note that says, "Dear firefighters, please accept this donation for all that you do for the Cherokee Village and us. We appreciate you helping Tom when he has fallen when I couldn't. You're truly a blessing. Thank you. Tom and Laura Paul."
As you probably know, Mr. Paul passed away here recently, and he was on the first city council in Cherokee Village. One of the founding fathers of the city, so to speak. Next item is the financial report.
Mayor, there's several things in the financial report that are 200%. Are we going to have a time when we go over this and bring it back to 622%, 182% over budget? And they seem to be registration for education. Is there a time that we're going to sit down and redo this, or this is going to happen at the end of the year? Because other cities will take and...
I'm having difficulty hearing you, Mr.
Other cities will take and refresh their budget throughout the year,
Mhm.
and I see we're over in some categories. Are we gonna do it several times during the year, or it's just gonna be cleaned up at the end of the year?
We'll usually do that at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Naturally, if an emergency issue arises, then it'll be brought to the
What
council.
I'm seeing is education, which I'm
Yeah.
for. It's just, I didn't know if these line items throughout the year, we update them, or if we, at the end of the year, do it. You just answered it, thank you. I motion that we send the budget to audit. Approve it and send it to audit.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Smith, to approve the financial report and be filed for audit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion approved, financial report should be so filed. Next is the mayor's report. You'll notice there that the document shredding company was here and disposed of several years' worth of documents that we no longer needed to retain, free up some space. Speaking of the audit is still ongoing. I think the auditor will be finished with the city sometime next week, and there should be an audit report probably late summer, early fall, be sent to all council members. I also would like to, at this time, introduce 3 new employees. At least one of them is not so new, but he's in a new position. That's our street supervisor, Joey Sheets. Joey, you want to stand up so people know? I'm sure people may already know who you are. Our appointed treasurer to be confirmed, Mrs. Deanna Hefner. She's been on the job, dutifully busy. And our new city inspector, code enforcement, is Charles Akers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And the last item I have is I got a report from RDOT regarding the low water bridge project. In June, they're running behind, so in June they hope to acquire the utility and some other right-of-way. It appears there's not going to be any groundbreaking in 2022 unless things change, so it's probably going to be 2023 before that happens, according to the information I had from the number 2 engineer that's in charge. If anything else changes, I'll keep you posted. But that's all I have. Next are the department reports.
Mayor, if there's no questions, I suggest we accept them as presented.
Accept them all.
Accept them, everybody seems to have
Unless somebody
no
has.
questions on anything major.
That's it. Well, let's see. Anybody have any questions of the fire chief, police chief? None? So you're moving, we accept everyone.
Correct.
Okay.
They were all.
All right. And I have a second.
I second that.
Okay, Mr. Martin moves, second by Mr. Smith, to accept all department reports. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Department report shall be filed. Then we move on to other reports. That's more informational than anything.
I'm sorry, I wanted to bring up one thing from the department reports, and I got it highlighted and forgot to say anything about it. At the street department, Darrell Curley made a good statement, and Darrell Curley stated that long-term planning has to start, and I've been advocating that since you put me on this council. And I would like to see something start happening with long-term streets. It doesn't have to be necessarily 10 years, but I'd like to see it go for the next 20 years so we could plan on paving some of the major roads. And if we have 20 years, we can have some time to accumulate money, find grants, do everything we have to do. And I believe somebody's got to start that so other councils can just add to it rather than every time we have a change, it starts all over again. And I'd really love to see something like that take hold. It was a good statement.
I would recommend attending the street committee if you can.
Okay, I can do that.
Any questions on the other reports? Mr. Smith, do you have anything you want to add on A and B?
We're continuing to move forward on April 2024, putting that together. And we have locked in our fireworks display for the 4th of July.
I do know that the Welcome Center has and is continuing to receive inquiries from out-of-state individuals looking for places to either purchase or investigate here in the village, which is a good sign for us. And I hope that continues. Okay, old business. I don't see Mr. Eccles in the audience.
No.
No. So I suggest we table that for another month. Do I have a motion?
Do we have anyone here to talk about trails?
He didn't tell us why we were signing that piece of paper, and that's all.
That's all it was.
Okay. I didn't know if someone else was coming to represent him.
He was supposed to be here. I don't know what.
Okay.
He's been having some health issues, I know that, so.
I'll motion for it to be tabled for next meeting.
Second.
I'll motion for it to be
Okay.
tabled for next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Heffley, second by Mr. Thompson to table this until the June meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, so be it. We'll move on to new business. Introduce the treasurer. We, as one of the requirements, the council needs to confirm that appointment because it's for a 4-year time span. So I've entertained a motion to.
I motion that we accept the nomination that you get.
Second.
My treasurer.
Motion, Mr. Smith, second, Mr. Thompson, to confirm the appointment of Ms. Hefner as treasurer for the city.
Discussion?
Yes.
It gets back to my point that I was going to ask earlier. I'm confused on how things are happening in this city. I'm used to when department heads come in, council confirms or says no to department heads. Mayor has the right to choose, but we still have to say on department heads. Any other employee, I have no problem with that. But with the clerk and the treasurer, we have some other responsibilities, and even planning and zoning, because he's a department head. And some of that is financial. Now, the budget was made without these people in mind, and that's our bailiwick. That's what we as a council are supposed to be knowing how much they're getting paid, what they're getting paid, what they're set up. And I'm running into my second question, so this might answer everything. So that's what I am going to be asking you about here in just a second. But you're asking me to affirm people that I've had no interaction with any of these people. Not that I'm saying your judgment is bad, but at least a resume would have been nice to see. Or
Mr. Martin, just a point of order,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. We do have a personnel committee that I would point out to you.
But then again, it's a
That-
committee,
that-
and they are not an elected official. It's a committee, and committees
No.
get made all over the place.
But the committee has both the mayor and a member of city council, both past and present, and so I would ask you to just ask for the procedures that are already followed. There's an established procedure that the Personnel Committee makes. Resumes are collected, positions are advertised for. That process has been established for years and approved by prior councils, and the mayor is following that process. Before we have a discussion in open meeting, and perhaps it would be helpful if you requested a copy of the process in the committee be provided by the mayor, and you can review that at your leisure. Just a point of information.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that. But, and I'll wait for my turn before I address that. But you're asking me, an appointed or elected official, to approve people that, why would you ask me if you already got a committee doing it? It's backwards. So I'm asking that if you're going to present people to us, at least you present us with information about these people prior to asking for our approval. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I have no problems with anybody you presented. Don't know any background or any history on it, so Personnel Committee did that. So what I'm saying is, since I'm the one that has to affirm them, not the Personnel Committee, you have to affirm them, you have to affirm them, he has to affirm them. It would be nice that the folks that weren't in the Personnel Committee were at least given a letter saying, these are the people we're going to affirm, here's why they're good for the job,
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
Department heads, the mayor gets to pick the department heads.
But the council can affirm them. I looked it up, I read it.
The council can disaffirm.
Okay, I got it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what's here now is the appointment of treasurer.
And that's great for me too, because is she finishing out the other term, or are we putting her in for another 4 years? And that's what's great, because
She would finish out the rest of the term, but I don't know exactly when that's up.
okay, but he's saying she's being put on for another 4 years, and that's back to council and financing, and that's why I was inquiring about that. But I got the other thing backwards. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I will make the motion to affirm them and then walk forward from here.
Okay. I hear a second.
I second.
Motion, Mr. Martin, second, Mr. Smith, to confirm that appointment. Roll call vote, please.
And my motion is to affirm everybody, just, I don't
No,
have.
we're only confirming this treasurer.
Then the treasurer, all by herself.
Thompson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rowland,
Yes.
Crispy,
Yes.
Heffley,
Yes.
Ishmael.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Okay, next item is the added item, Mr. Martin, personnel
So-
questions.
We just touched on it. We have the committees, we have the treasurer, the clerk, times, and what we're putting them on for, salaries for the clerk and the treasurer, we should have some say in, and I don't see anything in law that states that, or even for the treasurer. It bounces to different things in the big brown book, I think it is now, which is the Bible for everybody, the state statutes. But there's nothing that we have written down on what their job descriptions and things are. So I would like to meet with the mayor, or meet with whoever I need to meet with to do that, but I just wanted to make this announcement publicly. The same thing with committees. If we have committees weren't elected officials. They're not the person that has to make the final decision. The final decision are everybody sitting in this room except Mr. Carter, because he's absent. We are the ones that have to make that decision, so we should at least be informed when a decision like that has to be made. And this type of stuff has only happened through this mayor's tenure. Before that, it wasn't like this was committees. It wasn't. I was on for 2 mayors, so I know. So I would like us to establish something. and do it that way, so a new person coming on here will be able to go to all these rules, regulations, committees, and know what's to be done. And that's the end of my question and asking, and if you get together with me, I greatly appreciate it.
But, give me a call.
I can do that too.
Okay. Okay, next item are comments from citizens on city-related items. Mr., how do you pronounce it? Mr. Schleck? Schleck, okay. Please come to the podium, state your name, and give your city address, please.
And Mr. Mayor, just for people who aren't used to this, it is limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, you get 3-minute comments.
My name is Kurt Schleich. I live at 33 Chinook Lane. I'm here tonight on behalf of over 500 citizens of Cherokee Village that have signed a petition to add, to be able to possess chickens in the village. There are various reasons for that. My wife will be speaking in a little bit. I'll let her expound a little more on that. But what I want to give to you tonight is for you to look at a proposed ordinance for fowl in the village. And in this ordinance, there are parameters that you will notice that it's not going to be just everything goes. There are going to be regulations on amounts, fees, fines, and all of that. And I just prayerfully ask for you to consider this ordinance.
Question? Was this introduced to the planning and zoning, which it seems like it's under their bailiwick? Yes?
No.
Okay. That was,
You have that ordinance? Give that to our city attorney, please.
Question also, Mr. Mayor. He mentioned 500 signatures from citizens. Do you have a copy of those petitions, signed petition? Again, for the attorney. And Mr. Abel, I would ask you, just as you don't have to look at it all, but are all of those signatures identified with addresses and names of individuals?
I'm not going to look at it right now.
All right, thank you.
Next, Mrs. Schleck.
My name is Tammy Schleich. I live at 33 Chinook Lane in Cherokee Village. It's taken us 2 weeks to get up these petitions for chickens in the village. And people in the village understand why I'm doing this. Number one, some people need chickens in the village for medical reasons. Chickens, people with alpha-gal syndrome, which is a tick disease, and other tick diseases. 2, want chickens to eat critters and bugs control. A bonus, we both get free eggs. I am an alpha-gal. I have alpha-gal syndrome. I'm allergic to mammals and dairy. If I just get a little bit in my mouth if I go out to eat, just on my tongue, I get bad headaches. My stomach blows up like I'm 9 months pregnant, thrown up and diarrhea. It took me a while to find out about this. The first 4 tests that I got at the ER, it's a panel this long of tick tests. I took those 4 tick tests, they all came back negative. I went back to my doctor and said, these came back negative. She goes, you need the alpha-gal syndrome tick test. I took that tick test and it came out positive. I will have this for, they don't know for sure. It could be 1 year, which I've already had it for over a year. It could be 8 years. If I get bit again by a Lone Star tick, that they said they think it's that, but it might be a different kind of tick, I will have this for the rest of my life and have to carry an EpiPen. There's people in this village that are getting alpha-gal. There's this couple here. I won't say their names, but I'll show you. Their little boy has alpha-gal. There's kids in their high school that have alpha-gal. If this keeps going, what's going to happen to the stores and the restaurants? They can't comply to me, one person, not to cook my food with meat or dairy. We're going to all go out of business. People are going to start dying, carrying around EpiPens. They're good for 1 year and one-time use. You know how much they cost? Between $300 and $800 for a one-time use. 1 year. And people are carrying them around all the time. Because if I get something that I don't know what's in my food, my throat's going to close up. So I just pray that if you cannot accept the number 2 that people want chickens for bug control, that if you would consider today the needs of chicken for medical reasons, like alpha-gal and other tick diseases. I have this from my doctor that I got last year that shows I do have alpha-gal. I kept copies, left copies here for you guys to look at. It explains the alpha-gal. I'm sorry if I didn't do anything, all of this right when I was doing it. All I know is it's not just me. I care about the people here. I don't want to see any more people getting this. And if I can have chickens in a fenced-in yard.
Ma'am, your 3 minutes has expired.
Thank you.
Mayor, she does have the ability to go to planning and zoning and ask for a variance.
This is,
With the medical
it's a different related problem. It's not a variance we need to deal with here.
Well, but, okay, I'll wait.
Mrs. Stephanie Taylor.
My name is Stephanie Taylor.
You need to speak, get close and speak to the
My
microphone.
name is Stephanie Taylor. We live at 4 Immokalee Circle, and we are ate up with ticks. We lived there about a year. We moved from Ouachita Road, and I'm here in the same thing that she is, trying to get it reset where we can have a few chickens. The proposed ordinance, if anybody would read it, I brought copies, I brought all kinds of information on the alpha-gal, on the Lyme disease, the tick cause. We live on a street with one house. We have almost an acre of ground. We don't bother anybody. 5 chickens, I don't think is too much to ask for. There's a lot of good things about chickens that I know people, I can see your eyes rolling and all this and that, but it's to benefit people. It's to benefit us. You go to the store, a dozen eggs cost you $3 or $4 now. The chickens are a good thing for people's children, to help them teach to love animals, to take care of things, to grow up and be responsible. This is my idea of a chicken house that you can buy in a kit. They're made with rollers on the coop. You can roll it around your yard. If there's ticks or bugs of any sort, you can roll them around, you can keep the pen clean, you can get eggs, you know, what more can you ask for? So, and I'm also for her with this alpha-gal and all the Lyme diseases, and you know, I think it's there's a lot of there's some people here that are against it, but I think we own our property, we don't bother nobody, we live by the rules, and I think we should have the rights to have a few chickens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Hannah Heisenberg.
Hello, I'm Hannah Heisenberg. I have property at 7 Kaplan Trace in Cherokee Village. It's in Fulton County, and we're right in the throes of rebuilding a house that had burned down at that property in '07. When I first moved here, I'm a Southern California girl and never realized, didn't know what chiggers were, never heard of it. I had been in the emergency room twice, and they also actually transported me to the hospital. I am highly allergic to chiggers. And here I own this wonderful property with a dock on Lake Chinook, and I've only been on the dock twice since '07. I am that scared. I ended up going to a barbecue and for NADC, and they have their yearly barbecue, and they were gracious enough for me not to go on the lawn in any way, but to find out there are also chiggers in the gravel. And again, I landed in the hospital. It's no fun. And especially when you're paying taxes for something you can't even enjoy. In California, I love mowing my lawn because going barefoot and the smell of a fresh mown lawn, there's nothing better. But here, it's death for me. I had read last night there was a post in Facebook that one of our councilmen put up that actually said nobody wanted chickens. Not really, that's not true. And also commented that the police were having enough issues with chasing after dogs and also fixing the trashy lawns, that chickens would be just another nuisance. I beg to differ. First of all, chickens are great for a garden. Now mind you, I'm rebuilding a home. I can't build a greenhouse because our code won't allow it. But I'm building a solarium, so I can have my greenhouse that's attached to my house. So I can be able to be more sustainable, especially with the oncoming times that it's going to be horrific for everybody economically. Most people moved here to Cherokee Village, surprisingly enough, to be their last residence of their life. And they weren't planning on moving, and they would like to be able to enjoy their property. The great things about chickens are they don't make a lot of noise, they don't bite like dogs. Should they wander off of the property, they always come home when the night falls, and they go back into their coop. Plus, the most important thing of all is, like I said, the economic times that are coming up. Everybody will be able to have eggs, they'll be able to sustain and support their family with nutrients and everything else that sometimes people lately can't do. I'm on the board right now of NADC, and we're talking about how in the heck are we getting baby formula? We can't find it anywhere. We end up actually having to buy it in bulk that happens to come from Chicago, and this is for our area, for all those families and Head Start and everything else. It's only going to get worse. I think this will allow most of us that want chickens to be able to partake. Hopefully we'll have enough eggs that we won't be able to sustain it all. We get to give some of the eggs away. That's not such a bad thing. I don't know. I understand some of the laws. We may probably have to limit the quantity of chickens for most people. I also understand that roosters should be outlawed because I'm sure that's the most scary part of everybody, being awakened by such an early hour. But when you buy chickens, usually in a bulk, sometimes there is the boo-boo rooster. Well, then the rooster needs to go. Things like that. Perhaps we need a dating period for those that wish to have chickens, just to see how it's managed for all of the city. Just to see what are those flaws, where are the holes, and is it worth it for the city? Overall, are these chickens going to drive you crazy? One of the comments last night was a post to the councilman's post was, well, what happens if we killed a chicken on the road? Well, I thought myself not to answer, and I didn't. Well, you either give it back to the owner, or you take it home, pluck it, clean it, and eat it. granted, having chickens isn't for everybody. It's like having pets. They all require an enormous amount of attention. They really do. But those of us that wish chickens, we shouldn't be denied those, you know, for not having at least tried. That's all I believe. And, you know, I don't know. It's, and I also understand that having built my house, starting to build my house, I also know how sensitive it is to try to follow the laws of building a roof and making it match the existing house. Perhaps we can paint the coops and everything the same color of the houses and everything else, so there's some sort of consistency within the building code. That's all. And by the way, I'm being looked at right now for funding because they consider us a rural area in the Department of Agriculture because their mortgage rates are unbelievably reasonable. So if we're considered rural, you know, I don't know. But I hope you will consider it. Thank you very much.
The next speaker doesn't concern that subject, Mr. Zoja.
Actually, it does concern that subject.
Okay, you wrote zoning on yours, so, okay.
And I understand ticks and chiggers, everybody gets them. And you could spray, that will kill them off. If you want to spray toxic chemicals in your yard, you go right ahead. Personally, I don't want to. We want to be a bigger city, right? We want to be more progressive. Can you have chickens in New York? Raising chickens is legal in all districts of the city, but not roosters. Can you have chickens in Los Angeles? The main stipulation is that chicken coops must be at least 35 feet from neighboring structures and 100 feet if you have a rooster. Can you have chicken in Denver city limits? I know you can because my sister can. But you can have up to 8 chickens or ducks or a combination of the two and up to 2 goats. Can you have live chickens in Chicago? Currently, there are no restrictions in the city where residents can legally own goats, chickens, roosters, and pigs. Chicago suburbs that allow chickens: Deerfield, Lake Bluff, Evanston, and Naperville. Westmont. Now, Naperville, I happen to know a few people that live there. It's the 11th richest suburb in the U.S. It's in the Midwest top 10 places to live. Now, some people in this area have said, not in Cherokee Village, but in the surrounding area, have said we're a little snobby. Well, Naperville is among the top 5 snobbiest mid-sized cities, and they also allow chickens. We had 2 families move into our church, and they both work from home, which a lot of new people do, you know, younger kids. They move in. These people wanted to have chickens. They couldn't move to Cherokee Village, so they moved to a different area. They raise chickens and rabbits. A lot of younger people want to raise their food. So that's all I got to say.
Mr. and Mrs. Schlake, since you Mrs. Schlake, have that individual health issue, why don't you give me a call tomorrow, and we'll set up some time, and I get together with you and your husband, and it'll probably have to be Monday afternoon, the earliest, if you're available. So,
I'm working at high school.
just give me a call sometime tomorrow. No other,
still have a question. Why can't they go in front of planning and zoning like we
it's,
had
it's,
the people from school with raising the chickens for the 4-H or whatever it was?
excuse me, Mr. Martin, that was not a planning and zoning issue, that was a special use permit.
But it still went through planning and zoning.
No, not really. This is kind of I'll present something next month for y'all to deal on, okay?
Oh, great. That's why I'm confused, because I thought that's what they did.
Well, you need to call me and ask, okay?
But that would be nice to let everybody know where to go with that, not just me.
You know.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Any other comments up here?
A motion to adjourn.
Motion from Mr. Martin to adjourn. I hear a second.
I second.
Motion by second by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.